Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I am back with this Halloween special spooky pumpkin filet blanket. It's a quick and easy blanket pattern. If you prefer a written pattern, you can find the link in the description box below. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and also click the bell icon so that you never miss out on any of my videos. I've designed this pattern in a way that we work in sections or blocks of 37 stitches across each row. So we need to work in multiples of 37 for our foundation chain. For this blanket I've used Brava Sport weight yarn and a 4.5mm crochet hook and chained 111 chains, which is a multiple of 37 for the foundation chain, which makes this blanket measure about 37 inches wide and 30 inches long. So go ahead and work your foundation chain in multiples of 37 and meet me back. So once you have your foundation chain worked in multiples of 37, go ahead and add 2 more chains for turning. Now to begin row 1, make a double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. Double crochet is just yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's a double crochet. Now again, make a double crochet in the next chain, pull through 2, pull through 2. Again, in the next chain, yarn over, insert, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now just similarly, go ahead and make a double crochet in each of the chains of your foundation chain all across row 1 and meet me back when you're at the end. Here's a great tip. At the end of every row, make a double crochet 2 together stitch, which is yarn over, insert your hook in that last stitch, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. Again, yarn over, insert in the same stitch, yarn over, pull up, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops on your hook, again yarn over, pull through all those 3 loops. That's a double crochet 2 together stitch. Again, chain 2 to begin the next row. So you begin with a chain 2 and you end with a double crochet 2 together stitch for every row, that is the last stitch of the row. Now beginning row 2, double crochet in the very first stitch just below that chain 2 and make 9 double crochets in the first 9 stitches. So that's my second stitch and the third. So go on and make 9 double crochets in the first 9 stitches. Once you have 9 double crochets, then we need to make chain 1 spaces. For that, chain 1, skip the next stitch and double crochet in the next stitch, making a chain 1 space. So like that, we need 9 chain 1 spaces in total. So chain 1, skip the next stitch and make a double crochet in the next stitch, in total 9 times. Once you have 9 chain 1 spaces, again chain 1, skip the next stitch and make 9 double crochets in the next 9 stitches. I have made a foundation chain of just 37 stitches to show you just one section of the pattern. Like I had said earlier in the video, we work in multiples of 37 stitches. So you will repeat the exact same section that I'm showing you all across your entire row over and over till you reach the end of the row. And if you're following my tip of making double crochets 2 together stitch, then keep in mind you need to place that at the end of every row, not at the end of every section. So here, this is my last stitch of the row because I just have 37 stitches. So I'm going to make double crochet 2 together stitch in my last stitch of my row. Now to begin row 3, chain 2 and turn your work and make 7 double crochets in the first 7 stitches for row 3. Once you have 7 double crochets, chain 1, skip the next stitch and make 21 double crochets starting from the very next stitch, and make 21 double crochets across, working in the chain 1 spaces and on top of those double crochets like so. And once you have 21 double crochets, chain 1, skip a stitch and make 7 double crochets in the next 7 stitches. Repeat this section or block, or you can also call it set of stitches across the row. You will do the same for the pattern of every row in order to get the pumpkin fillet shape. Now to begin row 4, chain 2 and turn your work and make 5 double crochets starting from the very first stitch. Chain 1, skip the next stitch and make 7 double crochets in the next 7 stitches. Chain 1, skip a stitch and make 6 double crochets in the next 6 stitches. Once you have 6 double crochets, chain 1 again and make 3 double crochets after skipping a stitch. Again chain 1, skip a stitch and make 6 double crochets. Chain 1, skip a stitch and make 5 double crochets in the next 5 stitches. To begin row 5, chain 2, turn your work and start by making 4 double crochets from the very first stitch. Then chain 1, skip a stitch and make 6 double crochets starting from that chain 1 space. Once you have 6 double crochets, chain 1, skip a stitch and make 1 double crochet in that chain 1 space. Again chain 1, skip a stitch and make a double crochet in the next stitch. Chain 1, skip a stitch, 2 double crochets, 1 in that chain 1 space and then in the next. Again chain 1, skip a stitch, 1 double crochet in the next stitch. Chain 1, skip a stitch, 1 double crochet in the next stitch. Here we are making the spooky mouth. Again chain 1, skip a stitch, 2 double crochets in the next 2 stitches. Then we'll chain 1, skip a stitch and make 6 double crochets in the next 6 stitches. The 6th stitch should be in that chain 1 space. Now chain 1, skip a stitch and make 4 double crochets in the next 4 stitches. Begin row 6, chain 2 and turn and make 3 double crochets in the first 3 stitches. Then chain 1, And starting from that chain 1 space, make 6 double crochets in the next 6 stitches. Then chain 1, skip a stitch, and starting from the other chain 1 space, make 15 double crochets in the next 15 stitches. Again, chain 1, skip a stitch, and make 6 double crochets. Sixth double crochet should come in that chain 1 space. Then chain 1 and make 3 double crochets to end the row pattern. To begin row 7, chain 2 and turn. Make 3 double crochets in the first 3 stitches. This row is really very simple. After you have 3 double crochets, chain 1, skip that chain 1 space and start making 29 double crochets in the next 29 stitches, like so. Then chain 1, skip a stitch and make 3 double crochets and repeat this section all across. Now for row 8, you will repeat the exact same pattern for row 7. Starting from chain 2, then make 3 double crochets, skip a stitch, chain 1, skip a stitch, and make 29 double crochets. Exactly repeat row 7 for row 8. Then for row 9, let's chain 2 and turn our work. Starting from the very first chain, very first stitch, make 4 double crochets. Fourth double crochet should come in that chain 1 space. Then chain 1, skip a stitch and make 7 double crochets in the next 7 stitches. Then chain 1, skip a stitch, make 1 double crochet. Again chain 1, skip a stitch and make 7 double crochets in the next 7 stitches. Then again chain 1, skip a stitch, make 1 double crochet. Again chain 1, skip a stitch and make 7 double crochets. So in this row we are making the eyes, the spooky eyes. Once you have 7 double crochets, chain 1, skip a stitch, and starting from that chain 1 space, make 4 double crochets. Chain 2 and turn your work. Now for row 10, make 5 double crochets in the first 5 stitches. Fifth double crochet in the chain 1 space. Then chain 1, skip a stitch and make 7 double crochets in the next 7 stitches. Chain 1, skip a stitch, that double crochet there, and starting from that next chain 1 space, make 9 double crochets. Ninth double crochet should also come in that chain 1 space. So you begin with a chain 1 space for 9 double crochets and you end with a chain 1 space. Make sure you're counting the stitches properly. Chain 1, skip a stitch and make 7 double crochets, again starting from that chain 1 space. And chain 1, skip a stitch and starting from the chain 1 space again, 5 double crochets. So we have done the eyes of the pumpkin. Now for row 11, chain 2 and turn. 6 double crochets in the first 6 stitches. Again, the 6th double crochet should come in the chain 1 space. Chain 1 again, skip a stitch and make 23 double crochets in the next 23 stitches. And chain 1, starting from that chain 1 space, again make 6 double crochets. Chain 2 and turn your work. Now for row 12, make 8 double crochets in the first 8 stitches. Seventh double crochet out of those 8 will come in that chain 1 space, and the 8th will come after that. Then chain 1, skip a stitch and make 4 double crochets in the next 4 stitches. Then chain 1, skip a stitch and make 9 double crochets in the next 9 stitches. Chain 1, skip a stitch and again make 4 double crochets. Chain 1, skip a stitch, and from the next stitch make 8 double crochets. Chain 2, turn your work. Let's make row 13. Row 13, start by making 10 double crochets in the first 10 stitches. Chain 1, skip a stitch and make 1 double crochet in the next stitch. Chain 1, skip a stitch, make 1 double crochet in the next stitch. Chain 1, skip the next stitch and make 7 double crochets in the next 7 stitches. Chain 1, skip a stitch and make 1 double crochet in the chain 1 space. Chain 1, skip the next stitch and make a double crochet in the next. Again chain 1, skip the next stitch and make 10 double crochets in the next 10 stitches. Now to begin row 14, chain 2 and turn. Make 16 double crochets starting from the very first stitch. Then chain 1, skip the next stitch and make 1 double crochet in the next. Again chain 1, skip a stitch, 1 double crochet in the next stitch. And chain 1, skip a stitch and make 16 double crochets in the next 16 stitches. Now to begin the next row, chain 2 and turn. Starting from the very first stitch, make 17 double crochets. And chain 1. Make 1 double crochet in the next chain 1 space. Again chain 1, skip the next stitch and start making 17 double crochets in the next 17 stitches. Now for row 16, chain 2 and turn. And make 18 double crochets in the first 18 stitches. The 18th one will be in the chain 1 space. And chain 1, skip that double crochet and start making 18 double crochets from the next chain 1 space. Repeat this section all along. Now for row 17, chain 2 turn your work, and this time make 19 double crochets in the first 19 stitches. Remember, we are going to repeat these sections or sequences all across that particular row. So after you have 19 double crochets, chain 1 and skip a stitch. Make 17 double crochets in the next 17 stitches. Again, chain 2, turn your work. Let's make row 18. 18 double crochets in the first 18 stitches for row 18. Then chain 1. Skip a stitch and again make 18 double crochets in the next 18 stitches. Row 18 is really simple. Now for row 19, just chain 2 and turn your work. Make 1 double crochet on top of every stitch, and from here on you'll just repeat from row 2 to row 19 until you reach the desired length of your blanket. So that's it for this video tutorial. I hope you found the video tutorial helpful. If you have any questions, do leave a comment down below, or you can reach to me on my Instagram at crochetsuka. The written pattern links are in the description box below, so do make sure you check that out. Thank you so much for watching and have a happy Halloween.